this computer.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. We appreciate you taking 30 minutes out of your day to be here. First of all, I feel like this, as I was drafting the slides this week, I feel like 30 minutes is slightly ambitious. Although I'm going to try and stick to 30. I believe there's going to be questions. I expect there to be questions towards the end. I'm happy to go on. Obviously, you can drop whenever you want, but please do stay on, ask questions. We'll be here as slightly longer if we need to. And to be honest, I think this is going to end up being slightly longer than what I was expecting. So with that said, let me do a really quick intro. I am Neil Sheth. I'm the founder of Bubbl, Bubbl without the E. The website is bubbldigital.com, which I'm sure you've seen. We've been around for 3.5 years. My background's actually project manager, business consultant within investment banking for the last 15 years. So working for companies like Goldman Sachs, Accenture, Barclays Capital, Nomura by day, launching businesses by night is basically my story in a nutshell, until I realized my passion, which is online marketing through content marketing, SEO, social. So Bubbl is a organic digital marketing agency. We, for the last 3.5 years, have done it for clients up until now, which is we've just launched a training program, which I'll talk about at the end. Yeah, and that's who I am. So we have 2 offices, Bubbl, one in London with a team in London, and then in Colorado, where Chris and Daniel manage. So yeah, that's what we're up to. Outside of that, I love to stay fit whenever I'm motivated, which at the moment is very little of the time. I support Manchester United, and hopefully people don't drop when they hear that. We are playing today at 6 p.m. so in about 57 minutes. So that's another reason why I need to get through this presentation. But yeah, thanks for joining, and we're going to be talking about how to create Google-friendly content. The reason I've got a screenshot on the right-hand side, Your Brand Found, is that's my personal blog. I haven't blogged on there for a long time. In fact, I'm going to create some YouTube videos soon. But you can, for those that are looking for a free course or some free training or just some learning, feel free to check that out. So first step in your journey of creating Google-friendly content, it starts with research. And this is the most important part, because if the research is not right, the output is not right. And so by research, we're talking about what are people searching for at the very highest level. You know, that's something you are very familiar with, the people that are familiar with SEO through keyword research. Going slightly beyond that, what's trending now in your industry? Things that tend to be trending, and you can find that out in Google Trends, tend to be easier to rank because they are new topics or new queries that were not searched yesterday. You know, more and more new queries are appearing every single day in every single, you know, across multiple industries. And so if you can jump into that new query, it might be easier for you to rank for something new than it is to rank for something that's been there for, you know, for ages and is generic. So Google Trends is actually really interesting to start getting traffic. And that's just one tool you can use, you know, SEMrush, Ahrefs, a number of tools to identify new queries being searched. What are competitors getting found for in Google? You know, research is not necessarily just going, what do I want to get found for in Google? It's also, it's sometimes easier to go look at someone that's been around for a number of years, has an established presence, and already is known and loved by Google, right? So establishing what they're ranking for and then diving into the competition of what they're ranking for is very interesting, because it's almost like they've already done the work for you. Now what you have to do is filter and get to the root of the keyword that you're trying to target. So we're going to be using the word keyword a lot. I'm sure many people are familiar with this, but if you're not, it's basically what are people searching for on Google. That's what we refer to as a keyword or a search phrase or a query. Those all mean the same things.
Neil, Oh, sorry to interrupt. So I'll be including the link to the webinar that I hosted about keyword research in the follow-up email.
Awesome. Now, research isn't actually just limited to the keyword that you are targeting for your Google-friendly content. It is actually also about what pages are ranking today, what users are expecting in terms of their information, what is Google expecting in terms of the information, in terms of the format. You know, one massive clue is if you're looking to create a piece of content around a particular keyword, actually searching for that in Google is a really good way to define what users and Google are expecting to see for that keyword. We refer to that as search intent. I'm sure you've heard of that. You know, I like to think of it as, you know, what's users and Google's expectation, right? If you can define the expectation, then ultimately you can fulfill that expectation by giving users and Google what they want. So for instance, if I see a video ranking in Google pretty highly for a keyword, I'm not going to waste my time writing a blog post. I'm probably going to go with a video for that. Or if I see blogs and I apologize for a baby screaming in the background, by the way. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's our daughter, Sienna. You know, these are the joys of working from home. But it might keep people entertained as well on this call. But anyway, going back to the topic at hand. So if you see a blog post and a video appearing, awesome. Now you have a justification to create two things. If you see an FAQ ranking on page 1, or a people also ask, then actually that's a really good justification to integrate that question into your overall content. And so looking at page 1 results is an amazing clue, if not the end result, of what you should be doing. And then going beyond that, looking at who's ranking on page 1 and diving into their content now gives you a framework for what the content should look like. Make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Step 2 is pick a keyword, right? So you've done all the research, you've got some ideas, you've brainstormed a number of choices. Now go ahead and pick a keyword that is relevant. You know, you can expect to rank for that keyword. You know, you're going to enjoy. That's a big part of, you know, online marketing and generally building a business online is you kind of enjoy the process. The less you enjoy it, the more your expectations are always disappointed, because you're basically doing things out of an expectation as opposed to an enjoyment. And so I always recommend like finding a way to enjoy the process and get some fun out of it. Has high enough search volume depending on the niche. If you've got a large, if you've got a product with a high ticket price tag to it, then you don't actually need a load of visitors to make that worthwhile for you. However, if you're going for a volume play, i.e. you're selling a £10 book or a $10 book or a product, then clearly you need to go volume. So search volume is, it needs to be considered based on the business, but generally, search volume 50 plus is decent. As long as you can expect to rank for that, that's a pretty good place to be. If you're going for much higher search volumes, that then goes down to the competition of that keyword and the analysis behind that. And then lastly, more importantly, is you can improve page 1 results with your content around that keyword. So you're not only thinking at this stage, I'm going to try and target that keyword with a Google friendly content. You can also go to page 1 and go like this, and ask yourself the question that I can realistically, for that keyword, create a piece of content that I believe improves upon what I see on page 1. And that's really the goal that you want to, get behind. If you don't believe you can, that doesn't necessarily mean you don't go for the keyword. I would say that's more of a nice to have that I kind of sprinkle in there. The screenshot on the right is my homepage for yourbrandfound.com. One of my target keywords for the homepage is digital marketing coach. is it digital marketing coaching or coach, one of the two. And, you know, I sprinkle that in the page strategically. It's not my be end and end all, i.e. the top heading, the H1, I've not gone for digital marketing coach because that doesn't build a relationship. It doesn't build the persuasion element. So you'll see the word growth at the top and then some copy just below it, because the copy for me is more important. That resonates with my audience, as opposed to putting massive, you know, digital marketing coach, which means nothing at that stage, unless they are really just searching for that and coming through that keyword. I get a load of visitors to my homepage, which go via different channels or search different things. So just, you know, having big digital marketing coach heading would not be a good fit. So you have to balance it, the actual copy with the keyword that you're targeting. So moving on, pick step 2. Once you've picked your keyword, we go into step 3, which is create a content visibility outline. And this goes back to the research that you've done in step 1, but now really starts drilling into it. The screenshot on the right is an example of, it's just one half of our content visibility outline. It actually ends up being 3 or 4 pages, if not more. But here, what you're trying to do here is, whether you're writing the content or whether you have a content writer who you're then going to hand this over, this is your way of increasing your possibilities and chances of not only creating content that is meaningful for your business and the audience that see it via offline channels or, you know, referrals or other channels, but it massively increases your chances of creating content that actually now gets found and gets visible through Google. And so we're all about increasing possibilities and probabilities, and this is an awesome way to do it. So, you know, first question you ask yourself, what's the primary and secondary keywords that you're going for? The next thing is, you know, study page 1 results. What are common themes that everyone else is talking about? You know, and this is something I see quite common across clients who we work with, is sometimes you sometimes just need to get out of your own head and stop asking yourself the question around, what content should I write around this topic? Or like, how should I position it? What subtopics are they interested? You know, that's a really good sign for someone that just needs to stop asking themselves questions and just look at page 1. Like literally just stop, go into incognito mode into Google Chrome or whatever, and search for the keyword, look at page 1. That's your answer. Now study that. Right? So now you've got that understanding. You can now go in with an educated action. If everyone can go on mute, please.
Here we go.
Stephen, if you can go on mute. Okay, great. So going on to the next bit, which is headline brainstorm. So start thinking about your headlines. You know, page 1 you might see some good headlines that help you to generate ideas. You know, one quick tip is just getting a sheet of paper or a Google Doc and just writing headlines over headlines over headlines. And generally what I find is, by the time you've written 20 or 25 or 30 headlines, by the time you get to the 15th headline, you've got some really good ideas. And now you start mixing the headlines and finding hybrids of each headline and getting the best one. And then you end up with some really good ones. So sometimes if you're stuck with headlines, just do a brain dump. It really works for me. It's such a powerful tip, especially for sales pages, like outside of SEO and visibility content. So, and then what sections do you want to do? Well, how do you want to break up the content? What topics do you want to talk within the content? What does Google expect? What questions are asked? FAQs. These are all the things that you now start looking at. Length of content, right? So there used to be this, and I think this still exists, is where people think, I need to create a massively long form piece of content because that's going to be what Google expects. And actually, that's not what Google expects. Google expects that, and you can look at the quality rating guidelines that Google put out there, I think in 2018. It's a massive doc, like 169 pages. And it clearly states your content should be comprehensive, and most importantly, it should have a purpose. And really, if you're looking at those two questions or those 2 points, it depends on the topic of the length. Clearly, an evergreen topic that's really broad generally will require a lot of content. However, a smaller, narrow, niche specific topic will generally require less content. A product page content is going to be a lot less in the 100 to 200, maybe 300 range, versus a blog talking about a broad topic like digital marketing. So think topic, and then you're going to be serving that user with content that fits that topic. Step 3. Now that's step 4, which is write content for your audience. We need to get away from writing content for Google. That's not what Google wants. That's not what you want. That's not what anyone wants. Most importantly, your audience. If you write content for if you write content for your user and then strategically sprinkle in your SEO, you're going to have a lot more impact with Google, because people that find your content, whether they find it from Google or not, it's gonna resonate with them. They're gonna read it. They're gonna stay on it. It's gonna drive an emotion, ideally, or get them nodding their head as they read it, and it's stating small yeses in their mind before they pick up the phone and talk to you or get in touch or send an inquiry. Those signals are massively important, because those are the signals we and Google are looking for in order to validate that this is a piece of content that is worthy of Google's love and showing on page 1, And so writing for your audience first and foremost is the most important thing. This is just an example of a radiator company we're working with and a piece of content. And then I think I've got a screenshot. Hopefully I've added that in somewhere here of how that's ranking. So that's step 4, writing content for your audience. And just slightly beyond this, let me just check my timing. So just slightly connected to this is whether you're writing content or, and if you've got the experience in your niche, if you've got the experience in your industry and you talk to clients on the phone, or you speak to customers or prospects on the phone, you're going to have a really good understanding of what they're looking for and how they like to be spoken to, right? And I think you're in a good place if you're doing that. If you are hiring an agency or you're hiring a freelancer, I think it's really important that you check with the agency that they have niche experience within your field. And we're really talking about non-lifestyle businesses. By lifestyle, I'm thinking weddings or events. And I think generally that's fairly easy to write content around. But however, if the topic's fairly technical, then someone without that relevant experience is going to struggle. And I think that goes beyond that industry alone, but it's in the non-lifestyle spaces where it gets quite technical, or the questions are very specific. And this is just a kind of a bit of guidance, is just be careful with who you hire, because Google expects that the content is comprehensive and your content it has purpose and it is beneficial to the user reading it. So if you end up hiring any old writer from some freelance platform and you pay them $50 or $100 and they're just pushing out generic posts where they've basically read for 1 hour other posts and then they've gone, let me try and do one equivalent, you're not really going to move the needle in your business, because forgetting Google, you're not really going to, make that emotional impact, that persuasive impact that you're expecting to make with your offline readers or your visitors from other channels, let alone Google. So in my view, I think it's really important to manage how your content production is made end to end. And look, there are agencies and there are freelancers that have niche experience, which is great. And there are agencies which they don't, which you can actually find another alternative, i.e., they could interview. So the agency or the freelancer could interview someone in the team and then write the content, which is an amazing workaround. Or another alternative is, someone in-house within the brand, the company drafts a really quick and dirty version, and then a freelancer or an agency writes that up. There's so many workarounds, but just think about like that process and what that looks like for you, and who it is you want to end up writing your content, and just manage that as best as possible so that what you're pushing out is high quality. So that's step 4. Step 5, review and edit. We talked about this, I guess, in just a second ago. Review and edit now. Once you've got your content ready for your audience and it's great, it's really toning down, and honing down in your message, and it fits your style and tone in your voice. Like someone said to me the other day, one of my one-to-one clients, Jennifer, she said to me, Neil, every time I look at your blog, it literally sounds like you. And my internal teams, so Bubbl writers, they've said to me a number of times, Neil, why don't we take your content from you, because we're going to help you create a lot more content. It's going to be faster because we're writers and you're not. And, openly, I've told everyone that I'm the slowest writer you can find. However, I enjoy it. And also it makes me feel authentic. So I manage all of my content on my blog, and I'll then get help to review and edit it. And so that really resonated with me when Jennifer said that, because that is exactly what I'm going for. I'm just creating content in my voice, in my tone, in my style. It's not writing for Google. And so I think that's really important for brands and businesses is finding a style that suits you, suits your customer services team if you're a large enterprise company, or suits the founder if you're a smaller business who speaks to customers directly. Find your style, find your tone, and go with that. I fell in that trap of writing in a way, and this is when I first started trying to write in a way that I thought my audience wanted the content to be written, in that format and in that tone, and ended up not really enjoying the process. Whereas now, whenever I get time to write content, I actually enjoy it. Anyway, going back to step 5. So sprinkle in SEO, look at your headline, look at the readability, the subheadings, main content, the images, the meta title, description. Can you sprinkle in the keyword? And is it natural? Does it have impact still? The content, does it resonate? If yes, great. If no, I would vote audience first over SEO, because you're always going to win with SEO, especially if you got audience. And then who knows, later on, you could always go slightly more direct with the SEO. If you're on page 2 and you want to get that jump, you might now push it in the headline and go, yeah, you know what? Doing this is going to help me jump. It's going to help me get more visitors. Let me take the punt. Let me see what happens. Put it in the headline. Boom. You're now ranking on page 1. So it's a testing, iterative process. But like I said, keep it natural. That's really the message I want to get across. Step 6, publish and share. So, ideally start internally linking from other pages on the site to give it a bit of a boost, telling Google that, hey, I've just published a new piece and it's relevant to these other pieces which Google already knows about. And now those other pieces are linking to that piece. What you don't see on the right-hand side is this radiator company. We did a GIF image. So that radiator, those arrows go round and around. It's really engaging. It's great. So can you think about design? Can you think about some animation, adding that in the content to make it even more engaging and making the content even more stickier? Because if your content gets really sticky, you don't actually need that many visitors to give Google a signal that, hey, you need to notice this piece of content. It's great. Why don't you put it on page 1? Because I think you should. And there's just some easy, quick things you could do. Share it to your social audience, share it on your email list, get it out there, get some readers, get people looking at it. You could do some Facebook ads, you could boost it. Earlier on is getting a quick boost of visitors and some user signals on the page before Google starts kicking in. I should probably add that in step 6 in one of these bullets, as that's something we've been doing with Facebook ads. Then moving on to step 7, get found on Google, right? So this is a really, like I said, I've just put the slides together. This is a really relevant example, really recent example. I went in our Slack channel actually for this client. I said, hey guys, what's one piece of content you're massively proud of? And they said, hey, this radiator cover piece, go check it out. I thought, it looked great. So I got the stats, looked at the what's going on. It was published. When was it published? I would like to say within the month. And it's already ranking for all of these terms on position 32 to 94. So Neil, why are you showing me a piece of content that is ranking on page 4, page 3, actually this is page 4, so 32, page 4, I always get confused, to 94. Why are you showing me this? Because clearly it's not page 1. So the reason I'm showing this is because we don't expect everything to rank on page 1. If we were, and if we sold that to our clients, they would be massively disappointed every day. However, what we're selling here is, or what we're talking about here is validation and results moving towards page 1. So the fact that a piece gets published and starts ranking on page 4 or page 5 or page 10, you should be really proud. Like, that should be a win, that you stand up and you put your hands up or run around the house or the office when you're back in the office, and you go tell your marketing manager or your founder or just pat yourself on the back, because that is validation that you've created a piece of content that Google actually understands, reads, and actually slightly loves. Now what you need to do is start giving it a bit of a boost. You might need to get some links going to it from internally from the site. You might now need to think about the content now and go, how do I now make this even better, right? Or you might need to get some external, like actually get some people talking about it on other sites. Now you have a game plan to help boost it even further to page 1. And that's kind of what we're going through with this client. We've got some ideas. We've brainstormed a couple of quick wins. We're not going for the hard hitters. We think the quick wins are going to help nudge it up through some more internal links, maybe making the content slightly more question-based, adding a few more questions. We know if we can get a couple of these keywords or one of these keywords to page 1, everything else will follow, because Google is just going to get to know this piece of content more and more. We might need to add some more animations later, some more designs, some more images, but we can work from this foundation. And so creating Google-friendly content is a journey. It's fun because you actually create something and see it actually starting to get some traction and starting to get some readers that you have never met in your life, which is, mind-blowing. And then actually leads to more business when they start visiting your site and then getting to know you, and then you can start seeing that traffic elsewhere. So I'm going to end on step 7. And let me do this. I'm going to quickly introduce the Influential Brand Accelerator training program we have. It's just a one or 2 minute overview. And then we're going to jump into questions. So like I said, we've just launched the Influential Brand Accelerator. It is a program, an 8-week program, which is online video based plus group coaching with our team, with me, over 8 weeks, to help brands tell their story, become an authority, and basically get more Google love. There's a large element of persuasion. How do we create content that helps customers persuade? Like, a common problem for our customers is, or the group that is gone into the beta program is, hey guys, or actually someone said it to me this morning. It says, I've just had a number of calls with clients and I'm just constantly persuading them about my pricing or why they should work with me or where I got my certifications from. And actually, if you maximize and you leverage your website as if it's, a real person like you are today, where you're really trustworthy, you can talk to people, you build relationships quite easily in person. If you can carry that weight and transfer that online, then suddenly you move away from this price conversation and this price comparison. So persuasion is a big part of the program. And how we do that is through storytelling and creating strategic content that is also in line with Google. So anyway, these are some questions that we're trying to answer in the program. This is not a sales pitch, so I'm going to end there. But if you're interested in hearing more about it, feel free to get in touch. We've just launched the beta group. It's actually going live in a week or so. So if you're interested in having that conversation, it's not for every business, by the way. There's a certain situation we're looking for. And that's something we need to define when we actually look at the site and see whether the program is a good fit. But just get in touch through bubbldigital.com, at the contact, or you could just drop me an email, totally up to you. But with that, I'm going to open it up for questions. Feel free to drop in questions in the chat, and I'm happy to carry on. Actually, I did pretty good on timing, didn't I? But we've got more questions, more time for questions.
Awesome job, Neil. So if you'd like to stay on, we'll do Q&A now. My name is Chris Ralph. I'm the managing director over here in the USA in Boulder, Colorado. Yes, I'm actually recording this session. Everybody will receive the link to the recording. That said, Marion, question regarding keyword density. I've heard varying guidelines from 1% to 5%, assuming it still sounds natural. What should we aim for? That is a good question. Keyword density, Neil.
So I kind of view this as I'm a bit more relaxed about this topic, in the sense that I don't go too specific with keyword density. Like I said, it's all about the audience. Yes, I want to sprinkle it in there, a number of times. But I will, if I'm confident with the content and I believe from my research, my piece or, our piece answers the topic, has relevant questions that it answers within it, has the keyword clearly within the piece of content, then I'm fairly relaxed with putting something like live and then going, how is this now performing? Now, that's not to say we take that approach every single time. I tend to, maybe that's a personal thing for me. When it comes to clients, it depends on the topic itself. But if we're really going really specific, then we will look at how many times a piece of a primary keyword or a secondary keyword is appearing on a page, on page one. So we'll look at, say, for instance, the first five results, or even looking at the top 3 results and then going, how many times does this keyword appearing in their content? That gives you a really good live guideline of what you need. However, like I said, I don't go totally scientific on that. Sometimes that's a hypothesis to what could we make an existing piece even better and rank even faster to something that already exists. So it might be a second step we do that. It really depends on how hard you want to go with the SEO with it. But I wouldn't be getting into percentages. We tend to keep life simple.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the recent BERT update, Marion, just Google, I'm sure you heard about the BERT update. Google is getting smarter and smarter, right, about understanding context. So soon we'll, get a little bit more away from, keyword obsession. I think we're getting there sooner than later. Then question from Sonia regarding your comment on personal tone and style. Shouldn't there be a consistent approach on the SEO focus key phrase on each page at least?
I'm not sure what you mean by this, if you can just clarify. So the bit I'm stumped on is, shouldn't there be a consistent approach on the SEO focus key phrase on each page at least?
So if you can clarify, that'd be great. Then Neil, how often should you blog?
Oh yeah, awesome question. So I am not a big fan of blogging or companies blogging every day or every other day. unless you've got a huge enterprise company, you've got, a number of writers in house, and your analytics tells you that people are consuming that content and it's ranking and it's bringing in a ton of traffic. I'm a big fan of quality over quantity. So, personally on my blog, and I don't necessarily recommend this, is, I used to do once a month. And that was partly because I'm not the fastest writer. It takes me a very long time. And then also I've actually got a business to run. So it takes me, I need to kind of look at my time wisely. I would say if frequency, it really depends like what resources look like for you. But if frequency is a concern and capacity is a concern, then I would go twice a month or once a month. But it also does depend on the topic. So if the topic is really broad and you serve an industry that is highly searched, so for instance, one of our Radiator clients, it's highly searched, there's a number of questions, then we would want to increase the volume slightly. However, if it's more of a narrow topic and you want to go deeper on questions, then you can do less is more approach, which is, blog every 2 weeks, or once, or maybe once a week if you've got the capacity to do that. And I think that's a sensible schedule for any company to follow. And then outside of that, just I guess just make sure you'll keep being consistent with the approach.
Cool. All right, let me see clarification for Sonia. I think of the Yoast focus key phrase right now and of translation into various languages. So you need to make sure you use the translated key phrases consistently on the relevant page. Let me actually, I'm actually going to do a webinar about international SEO, multilingual search engine optimization, keyword transcreation is going to be a big part of that. Sonia, I'll send you the link to the information, to the upcoming webinar. In general, Neil, I don't know if you're using the Yoast plugin on your.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of it. It gives you these colors and a false sense of security. That's my opinion. What's your opinion?
I agree. I think people get hung up with Yoast. They think if I get green lights in Yoast, I'm going to rank in Google. It's actually, it couldn't be any further than the truth, to be honest. Creating Google friendly content is not about pleasing Yoast. It's about the steps that we just talked about here. So basically come out of pleasing Yoast, forget Yoast. And then before you hit publish, this is what I do. I look at Yoast and I ask Yoast, like in my head, are you telling me anything of value here? And then I look at what it's telling me, and I see these red, I see these ambers, and then most of the time I ignore them because I'm confident in what I've produced. And sometimes it tells me something that actually I think, interesting, let me go improve that. So that's kind of how I treat Yoast. He's like a distant friend you don't really want to meet in person. But from time to time, he might tell you something that's useful.
Cool. All right, we're just about 10 minutes over. No other questions right now. If you need help developing content, that's a big part of what we do every day. So you're welcome, of course, to talk to us about that. Neil, great job. Any last tip, anything else you want to pass on for now?
No, I think, I kind of hammered on about the research. That's a large part of creating content. Some people enjoy it, some people don't. The question you have to answer if you don't enjoy that part is, do I actually want people to read my content? Do I want to maximize the ability to create content that actually gets read? Otherwise, you're wasting your time. And that hopefully will inspire you to do that research and follow the steps.
Cool. And then, sorry, one last question here. When is the webinar about the international SEO again? Oh man, I'm doing one with another company. I think that's in July, and then one in September. I will include the information and links and dates in the follow-up email. apology. We're doing so many webinars during this pandemic, just to help educate people out there. So I'll include a link to the information. Neil, great job. Thanks so much. It's late there. You should go and take care of your daughter and your family. And yeah, we'll be in touch regarding our next webinar.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening to me. Hopefully that inspires you to go create some Google-friendly content. See you later.
Cool. Thanks, Neil. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for your interest. Bye-bye. Thanks, guys.